Hi all, Ash here. Japan is one of the most magical places in the world, but it is hard to navigate with how many rules and different customs that it actually has along with it too. So because of that, I put together a whole bunch of things that will hopefully make your Japan trip a lot more easier. Now I cut out some of the typical ones that you see in every single travel video so that I can give you stuff that I know for a fact you will use on your Japan trip, and hopefully it'll just make it that much easier. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into these tips. So tip number one, use the trains whenever you can. Although a lot of people like to make it seem like it's super complicated to use, and it can be, it's actually not that bad. So just use Google Maps as a start, and that immediately already takes away some of the pressure from it. The second tip I have for you after that though, is to focus on two things. One, you want to focus on the color of the station. They'll be on all the train signs, and usually there's not a lot of overlap between colors. Every once in a while there is, but not usually. Second thing you want to look out for is the actual platform itself. So for example, if you're looking for a blue station, for example, you'll just go ahead and follow the signs until you get there. And once you get to the actual platform, make sure that the number is matching the one that you have in Google Maps. So if it's 15, you gotta make sure that it's 15 right after 2. That is the biggest tip that I can possibly give you. Now, once you learn that tip, you can start to incorporate little additional things, kind of like the train station's name, to make sure that you're going the right direction. But we didn't really get lost just following the first rule. So much so that we started to memorize the train lines and the colors of each as well. Because typically, you'll probably use the same train lines if you're coming from the same place from your actual hotel. Now, I kind of lightly touched on it in the last one, but my second tip is to use Google Maps. Now, obviously, use Google Maps. That's useful in itself. However, make sure you're remapping it though. Now, if you map to go to a certain location too early, the train that you're trying to get to might leave before you actually even get to the train station if you're walking from super far away. So my tip to you is to constantly remap it, because the trains run so efficient that it would be better for you to remap it to get the next best train station, because the train that you were trying to get to originally might have already left by this point. So by remapping it, the map is going to give you the next best option to actually get to that location. So do not be afraid to remap locations. In fact, do it frequently if you're trying to go to the train stations. If you notice you're just taking a little bit too long, then go ahead and just remap it. On the bottom of the directions, it actually has the time that the train is supposed to get there as well. So use that to your advantage. If you notice that it's about to leave in 1 minute and you are nowhere near that train station, you might as well just remap it, because there's no way you're going to get to that one specific train in that 1 minute. And even if you try to get to the train station and leave at that time, by the time that train comes, like 2-3 other trains could have already passed by that would have gotten you to the same exact location too. Now for number 3, it's also a Google Map tip too, because Google Maps is just awesome in Japan. It works wonderful. But my other Google Map tip is to use the AR Street View when you are out and about. Having arrows appear in the street in real time, in real life, through your camera is just a lifesaver. There were so many times where we didn't know where we needed to go. So we used the AR mode. It told us, walk straight, and we realized that we actually were going the right direction. But there were other times where it would tell us to completely pull a U-turn, turn to our left, turn to our right. It just would directly, it held our hand to actually get to the location. Now, you don't have to use it all the way to the location. And as a small additional tip tagged onto this one, you can actually put your phone down and it'll go off of the AR view and it'll just go back to a normal map view on your phone that's kind of like compass driven. So you can still follow the way that it's trying to give you without having to look at the street the whole time. All right, now number 4, and I promise this is the last Google Map one. But number 4 is you can create lists of places that stay marked on your map through the Google Maps app. You create a favorites list, and whatever you throw into it will remain permanently on your actual map. Now, the way that this helps is if you're going to one location and you don't know where to go right after that, you just check your map and see what's around that one area. So many times I would just choose one location, then we would go to that one location. Whatever was on the way, we would just happen to stop to because it was more convenient, and then we would go to one that's like right after that, and right after that too. Now, This made it so much easier that you really didn't have to plan a very detailed itinerary. All you had to do was throw in the locations you wanted to go to eventually, and then kind of pick the most important ones so that you made sure you were hitting those. And along the way, you would get some of the side ones that you wanted to get as well. Now, for number 5, be prepared to walk. Because I cannot stress this enough, the amount of walking that we did was insane. I was using Pokemon Go through this trip, and within our 2 weeks that we were there, it said we walked 100 miles. 100 miles. That is a lot of miles to be walking over 2 weeks. And I honestly believe it. Now, our legs were absolutely dead within a couple of days because we were walking nonstop. We weren't taking breaks. And even though we had really good padded shoes, which, by the way, is an additional small tip tagged onto this one, buy really good walking shoes. You are going to need them. But because of that, all the walking, even with the really good shoes, our legs were still dead. So just be prepared to walk. If you can kind of prepare yourself in advance before you get to Japan, I would suggest that you do that because we are relatively fit people. We work out constantly. We do a lot of cardio, and even then, it was kicking our butts. So just be prepared to walk because Japan has a lot to see, but you're going to have to walk to actually get to those places to see them. Number 6. Now, paired with the last tip, take every single chance you can get to take a break. Now, since you're walking so often, your legs are just running on overdrive at every single second. So giving them a couple of seconds here and there to breathe, or even a couple of minutes, is a lifesaver. Once we started doing this towards the end of our trip, that made everything so much better. And our leg pain wasn't nearly as much as it used to be. So take breaks, whether it's when you're eating food, or if you see a nice little bench or a park that you can stop at, take advantage even if your legs don't feel like they need it, and take that break. Because your legs will thank you in the long run. And it'll make you able to see more places in the end. Because you won't get stuck walking at a snail's pace because of how much pain your legs end up being. Now, tip number 7. Buy a coin purse as soon as you can, or just bring a little pouch or container to carry your coins because you're going to get a whole bunch of them. If you have any cash whatsoever, paying with cash will then in return yield coins. And you can get rid of these coins quick enough. Now, the 100 yen coins, you will get rid of those pretty quickly if you like gacha machines or if you need to do laundry or something like that. Those are kind of easy to get rid of. But I'm talking about all the other smaller coins. Those ones are way more difficult and they quickly add up. So you have to have some place to end up putting it. Now, I bought a little Super Mario one. This one was super useful and it really carried the rest of the trip. However, before that, I was struggling to find places to put these coins. So it is a must buy on your Japan trip. That said, this is kind of like a little added bonus tip on top of this one. You really don't need that much cash for Japan. Everybody says that it's a cash-based society, and there are places that you only need cash, and you can only use cash. However, many places, such as the big cities like Kyoto, Tokyo, Osaka, you were fine just using your credit cards. You actually really didn't need cash. If you have a credit card, just check to see what the rules are on it, but you'll probably be able to use it, and it'll allow you to not bring as much cash so that you can save the cash for like the smaller locations or like stands, and then use your credit card wherever applicable. That said, if your credit card's going to charge you a whole bunch of fees, you might as well just go with the cash, which will then pair up with the last tip that I just mentioned. Buy a coin purse because you're going to need it for all those coins that you end up getting. On the note of money, definitely get a Suica or other prepaid transportation card. Because you're going to end up using the train so often, the Suica card allows you to quickly check in and check out of the train station. Now, as a bonus little tip, if you add your Suica card to your Apple Wallet, for example, if you have an iPhone, you can just quickly tap your phone into the actual train station console and then quickly get in and out through there. It's also very easy to add money so long as you have one of their accepted cards. So you can quickly just keep topping that thing off and not really have to worry about it too much. I would say for about 2 weeks, We did end up spending quite a bit, but because we really went to a whole bunch of locations all across Tokyo and all the cities, so put a good about $100 if you're gonna go as crazy as we did, because even if you don't use it on the train stations itself, you can actually use it to buy things too. So a lot of the stores will actually accept it outright, and so do the vending machines that you see on the street too. So it's very easy if you need a water and you see one on the vending machine to just go ahead and choose it, tap your little phone to it, to the little card reader thing, and then you're good to go. You got your water right there. It charged it to your Suica. You didn't have to pull out any coins unless you were trying to get rid of them, and then you're good to go. So having a Suica or any of the relatively similar ones like Pasmo card can really help you out. And if you could add it to your phone, it is an added bonus. Since we're talking about phones, my tip number 9 is to get an eSIM if your phone allows it. An eSIM is basically a digital SIM that can hook up to your phone, and even though your phone is from a different country, if you've jailbroken it, you can still allow your phone to connect to a different signal in a different country. Now, there's a whole bunch of different eSIMs. I'll kind of recommend one company in specific that we used that was super useful, and even give you a small discount code that's not affiliated with me because I'm not sponsored, but we can help another person out. That's not an issue. Getting an eSIM, we had service more places than none in all of Japan. And we went from Tokyo all the way down to Okinawa. So as far as like mid-Tokyo all the way down south, because we did see some of the locations like Hiroshima down south before that, it was just spotless. I want to say that it worked about 99% of the time, with 1% of the time just it being when we were like at the top of super high mountain. So definitely get an eSIM if you can, if your phone allows it, because it will make it so much easier to have signal on the go. Now, I did mention like I'm going to recommend someone, so go ahead and just follow this person right here. They're on the screen right now as we speak. Use their code, you'll get a small little discount. Airalo ended up being amazing for this, and I cannot recommend it enough. It is super cheap. If you run out of data, you can top it off very easily without any issue, and it's relatively cheap. Try to get a pretty good, decently sized package so that you don't have to do that. Top yourself off enough, because with this discount code, you can actually get a pretty hefty discount to make the whole thing cheap overall. So might as well lower that price as much as you can so you can save that money for spending in Japan. Okay, that tip was a little bit long, but for tip number 10, this one's gonna seem weird, but it is super useful. Use ChatGPT. ChatGPT is an AI program that when asked anything, it can help you out. So I decided to try using it to plan the second half of my trip, because I had already planned the first half myself manually. It took hours. It was just exhausting to try and figure out where are these places at, how can I make them closer, let's optimize for time, give me the address. All of that took forever. Now, I tried my second half of the trip with ChatGPT, and it did it within seconds. I threw all of these locations at it. I asked them to optimize it based on time efficiency and location, and it did it within seconds. And now on top of that, right after that, I asked it to give me all the addresses, hours of operation, phone number, typical costs for the location. It gave me all of that too within the next couple of seconds right after. Just copy paste that into a Word doc, save it for yourself, and just follow it as you go through Japan. ChatGPT made it so much easier. So much so that this second time that we're going to Japan, I used it for the whole trip. I had my whole trip planned out within a couple of minutes. Every single day, every single location that we're going to, just immediately done. Alright, so next tip is actually a food recommendations tip. Now, I personally don't like seafood that much, so I'm not going to give a lot of seafood-based recommendations. My number one recommendation has to be the egg salad sandwich from any of the convenience stores. That thing was amazing. It tastes nothing like any egg sandwich that I've ever had in the US. And it doesn't matter what convenience store you go to, they all tasted relatively the same, and that relatively the same was awesome. So I heavily recommend that egg salad sandwich. On top of that, my other really, really big thing in Japan would be the souffle pancakes. Ooh boy, those things were so good. I am still craving those to this day. and they do not taste like westernized pancakes. Westernized pancakes, first off, are like this thick. All right, the souffle pancakes were like this thick. They're thick old suckers, and they don't even seem to be made of the same material at all. I heavily recommend them. They are not that sweet. The fruit actually kind of brings the sweetness to it, and it complements the taste so well. Even if you have to wait a good while like we did, it's worth it. Other than that, I'm gonna go ahead and kind of like rapid fire a couple of like other things that were really good. The small cheesecake in the Family Mart freezers, that thing was amazing and nice and creamy. There was like a really green melon milk, which is awesome. The sour cream and onion Pringles, which we have Pringles here in the US, but these ones, weirdly enough, tasted slightly different and better. All right, so definitely get those if you like chips. Other than that, the Boss hot or iced coffee from the vending machines was pretty good too. Also, the 7-Eleven smoothies, they are god tier. Whew, so that food tip ended up being longer than the last one. So we're gonna go a little bit quicker on these ones. My next tip has to be with locations. I recommend that you pick a hotel that is right next to one of the train stations. This will save you a ton of hassle and your legs will thank you in the long run. If you're staying at a hotel, you're typically going to be going either back and forth to your hotel or going to locations, then to your hotel at some point within the day. Having a train station right next to your hotel allows you to quickly get to that train station, to quickly get onto your train to get to wherever you need to go. Now, you can get relatively cheap hotels right next to train stations, no issue. By the way, as far as train stations, one last little tip I'll tack onto this is try using Expedia for it. It was relatively safe to use. We didn't have any issues at all on our trip. And one cool feature that it has is that it shows you how close a certain train station is to that hotel. So when you're looking through hotels, you can kind of click it and see kind of what's nearby. You can actually search by the train station too, and it'll give you locations around there too, and tell you relatively how far it is. Now, tip number 13, reserve everything. Now, I'm literally talking everything. All right? Pokémon Cafe, Kirby Cafe, Tokyo Disney Sea tickets, cafes, restaurants, bars, if they're very specialty bars, reserve it. If you can reserve it, do reserve it. Because these places can easily fill up, and you don't want to get there only to realize that you can't actually go to the place that you've been waiting all this time to get to. Do your research, try to see when things go live, because certain things are harder to reserve than others. For example, the Pokémon Cafe, if you try to reserve that, here in the US, we had to wake up at 2 a.m. in the morning to try and get those tickets, only for the tickets to then sell out within seconds. And the site would crash about 1 million times, making it super difficult. I did that back to back for about 2 weeks. I got lucky and got one day on our last day of the trip at a horrible time, which meant that we were going to be stressing to even get back on our plane to come back. So not optimal. I kept checking, and thankfully someone managed to drop like the day before for the Pokemon Cafe, and I was able to book it so that we can go while we were still in Tokyo without having to stress about getting back home. Now, some places it's going to be easy to book it, and you're not going to have that many issues. For example, Tokyo Skytree, it wasn't even that hard to book it. However, if you are trying to go to a specialty location and it is very popular, it has to do with a main franchise or something, book it. Because the last thing you want is when you get to Japan, this ends up ruining your trip and you don't get to do the things that you want to. Now, tip number 14, learn a couple of key phrases for you to use in Japan, because you will constantly use a certain group of them. For example, one that you will live and die by is arigatou gozaimasu. Now, this essentially means thank you very much, and you use it very frequently. So getting it kind of burned into your head will help you as you try to communicate in their language. Now, Japanese people are very nice, so they will try to communicate with you even if it's through broken English. But if you can kind of smoothen the conversation by knowing a couple of these phrases, you'll make your Japan trip easier. You'll make it less of a hassle on them too, and everything will just be better in the end. Now, I'm going to throw up a couple of phrases that were super useful to us. There are more that you can learn. These were the ones that we used the most. So definitely use these. Like I mentioned, arigato gozaimasu is a top tier phrase that you definitely got to use. Hi for yes, or daijoubu for no, which kind of means like okay instead, or it's okay. Those ones were the most useful, but all of these should definitely help make your Japan trip that much easier. My next tip, if you are a person who is planning on buying a ton of merch and souvenirs, pack very lightly. Now, we did this because we knew that we were going to buy an excessive amount, and we still had to buy an extra luggage. So, even with this tip, it's still going to be hard to limit yourself. However, if you're not going to go as crazy as we did, then you should be able to manage by just limiting how much you pack. There are washers and dryers that you can use for very cheap, and you can basically just bring half of the clothes that you think you would need, wear that out. Once they get dirty, use the washers and dryers at the hotel, and then just rinse and repeat essentially. If you end up buying clothing while you're over there in Japan, you can use that too. So basically, you're saving room for things for you to buy. And if anything, it gives you an excuse to buy a little bit more so you can fill that suitcase right back up. Tip number 16. This one also has to do with hotels. They will let you actually check in your luggage early, even if your check-in time for your hotel is later. So many times, the check-in time for hotels is going to be 2 to 3 p.m., which is pretty late in the day. If you're an early riser, want to see a whole bunch of locations, the last thing you want to do is make your hotel checking in the first thing that you do, because that's just going to set you back and you're going to waste so much time. However, what you can do is go directly to your hotel and they will allow you to check in your luggage. Some locations had actual lockers that you just check them into. They were free at the hotels that we stayed at too, so there was no downside to using this. Check them in, give you a little key or a little code that you put in there. You pop them in there, and then when it's time to check in, you come back, get your luggage, and just leave it right back in your hotel room. Some places were like that. Other places, you would just ask if you can leave the luggage at the hotel room, and they would let you. They actually had like rooms dedicated to all this luggage. They would usually have you fill up like a little slip for you to fill out, give you a paper, so that when you came back, you just give them the paper, they get your luggage, and then you kind of exchange that way. If you're unsure what hotels will actually do this, your best friend's going to be Expedia again. On the features, when it mentions what type of hotel it is, one of the features that's on there actually says checking in luggage. All right, last but not least, tip number 17, use Google Translate. Now, this seems like a common sense kind of tip, right? However, there's one little feature that I don't think everybody knows about. In the Google Translate app, there's a little section where you can click on the photo icon and it will throw your phone into the camera. Now, in real time, it will actually translate things. So let's say you have a Japanese menu right in front of you. You use your phone and it'll automatically translate every single thing that is on that menu for you. It'll tell you what it is, what it has, literally whatever is written on there, it will translate it for you. And it does it within seconds too. It is absolutely amazing. Another little bonus too that you can do, you can actually automatically download the language to your phone. So even if you don't have signal, if you've downloaded the 2 languages that you need, which are typically going to be probably English and Japanese, it'll still translate whatever it is for you. I believe it's called Google Lens as the official name to it, but in Google Translate, you just click the little camera and it will make your life so much easier being able to translate anything in real time. All right, that just about wraps up all the major tips that I could think of to make your Japan trip a little bit easier. If anything, maybe just gave you a little bit more insight on how Japan works as a country. But if you follow these tips, it should make your trip a lot easier. Regardless, thank you all for watching. Like, subscribe, comment which of these tips ended up being the low-key MVP out of all of them. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Ash out.